Hey everybody, my name's Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader. So today I wanted to go over everything that I've read in March and give you kind of like a quick recap overview of what I read, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I thought was okay, and some quick recommendations. So this month, I actually read 2 books by Cassie West. I read The Moment of Truth, which is her newest release, and I read The Fill-In Boyfriend. I actually had ordered The Fill-In Boyfriend before I really even knew that The Moment of Truth was coming out. And I ordered it because it was recommended to me on Goodreads. It popped up as a, hey, you may like this, based on what I've read before. And it was my first Cassie West. Cassie? I don't know. It was my first of her books. And I really liked it. I thought it was cute. It's got the whole fake dating trope where she has to pretend that he's her boyfriend because she gets dumped at prom in the parking lot by her other boyfriend that her friends don't really think exists. So it's really fun. It was flirty, cute. I gave it a 4 stars for The Fill-In Boyfriend. And because I had read this one first, I kind of had an expectation of the Cassie West books. And then I read The Moment of Truth, which I did really like. It was a YA contemporary that was very easy to read, but I don't know if I liked it as much as The Fill-In Boyfriend. And I think that's just because I read them back to back. You kind of compared them once you do that. So I gave The Moment of Truth 3.5 stars. I think the main reason I did this was because I didn't really connect well to the main character. This is more of an enemies to lovers romance, which is usually my favorite, but for some reason this one just didn't hit as hard with me. So that's The Moment of Truth by Cassie West. Next, I want to talk about Ember in the Ashes. Ember in the Ashes was gifted to me by Penguin Teen as a promotion for the upcoming release in December of the 4th book in the series. And I had actually never read this one. I don't know what took me so long to read it because it had everything in it that I wanted. It's my normal type of fantasy novel that I really love and fantasy series that I really love. So I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars. I flew through it. I didn't want to stop reading it. I will be posting my review for this later on this week. Undercover Bromance by Lyssa K. Adams is the second book in the Bromance Book Club series. So I read the first one last year and I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite rom-coms of last year. And I'm new to the whole rom-com genre, so I really got into them last year and have continued on with the subsequent books in the series this year. So I was really looking forward to this one. And it fell a little short for me. I didn't think it was as good as the first, personally. This one follows Braden Mack, who was one of the characters in the first series, who's actually the creator of the Bromance Book Club. I think one of the main reasons why I didn't like this one as much was because I really didn't like Liv, the female character in the book. I didn't like her in the first book. I really didn't like her in this book. She didn't really grow on me. And I felt a lot of times that the sexual harassment storyline that was the basis of the book was a little too over the top and felt a little preachy at sometimes. It's like, I get it. I think this is wrong too, but I don't need it shoved down my throat a million times. Like, I'm with you. I got it. This is bad. That's, I think, why I gave it a soft 4 instead of the 5 that I rated the Bromance Book Club. But I would still recommend it, still definitely recommend the series. So check out the Bromance Book Club and Undercover Bromance by Lyssa K. Adams. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about this book because I did 2 videos on it, one with spoilers, one without. But Sarah J. Maas's The House of Earth and Blood. I can't stop thinking or talking about this book. It's adult fantasy. I loved it. I have 2 whole videos on it, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here talking about it. You can go watch those if you want to hear more, but this was my only 5-star of the month, actually, so definitely go read it. The next book that I read this month was My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This was recommended to me by a friend. We were joking that we were in the mood for romance, and she was like, read this book. It's deadly romance. And it is. I gave this book 4 stars because this was the kind of thriller that was like a constant thrill hum, because the basis of the book is that it's about a husband and a wife and they murder people. And I just thought it was so different because it was not the typical thriller where you are following the murderers. So I loved that aspect of it. It wasn't the up, down, twist here, throw there. It was like you were constantly feeling that thrill because you didn't know what was gonna happen next. So I really liked this one, would definitely recommend it for anybody who loves thrillers. The next book that I read was actually my choice for my Fun Size Book Club. Thanks for everybody who joined along this month to participate in Fun Size Book Club. Our pick this month was The Two Lives of Lydia Byrd by Josie Silver. And I felt a little let down by this book. And I think part of it was because it was so freaking sad. It was so sad to the point where I could not read it without bursting into tears as soon as I was done. And I wasn't even physically reading it anymore. I would put it down for the night and I would just cry, or I would need a hug or whatever, because it was so sad. This is about a girl named Lydia whose fiance dies on her birthday. And so it's kind of this grief story and moving on with your life story, which is great and it was beautiful. But what really knocked it back for me was that I just couldn't read it without being really, really upset. I ended up giving this one a 3 stars. I liked it, but I would limit who I would recommend it to because of the content, because of how sad it was. And I think the ending kind of resolved a little too fast for me. Bonfires Moon by Purdie is a YA fantasy fiction novel, and it did come out this month. I had pre-ordered this one because, like, look at this cover. It's beautiful, and I had to know what was inside of it. I ended up giving this one 3 stars because it wasn't exciting for me to read. I definitely think there are a lot of people that would like this book, but my biggest problem with it was that it was told from 3 different perspectives. Each perspective, as you were reading it, to me, didn't really feel like it had its own voice. I was constantly flipping back, trying to figure out who I was reading and what was going on because it was confusing me since I didn't really feel the character in each of the chapters as they were narrating it. It was a good story, and I do want to see what happens in the next one, but it wasn't like a rush out and read this book for me. Bonfires Moon by Purdie, 3 stars for me. The last book that I read in March of this year was The Giver of Stars by Jojo I can't say last names. Moyes? I don't know. I'm sorry. I got this through Book of the Month a few months ago, and it's just been sitting on my shelves and I haven't ever gotten into it. I want to preface this one by, I feel like a lot of the books that I read this month, I may have been in a little bit of a funk while I was reading them because of the quarantine that we're in right now, right? A lot of people have had different emotions all over the place. I have suffered from that as well. So I feel like I would have liked this book a lot more if I was at a different time period reading it. For me, it was a great story, but it was that kind of book. It was a story kind of book. It wasn't something that will keep you reading and wanting to know what was going on and just had to know what happened next. It was a beautiful story. And I think that just wasn't the type of book that I was looking for right now. This book follows the pack horse traveling librarians that were in Kentucky in the 1930s. So it's about women supporting other women, building this organization and bringing books and the gift of books to people in their community. There's, a lot of other things that go on in the town during that time, but that is the basis of the story. And it was beautiful. It was great to get to learn about that part of history and really see a historical fiction that I hadn't seen before. So it was good. I would recommend it, just maybe not when you're feeling like you need to read a book that is fast-paced and keeps you going. So The Giver of Stars, 3.5 stars for me. Thanks for tuning in, checking out what I read during March of 2020. If you'd like to subscribe, click on my face right up here and be sure to follow me on social media. Thanks, and I'll see you guys next time.